My absolutely beautiful Virgo friends, and welcome to your horoscope for 2025. Here we are, right? And Virgo, man, this year Uranus moving into Gemini, fellow Mercury ruled energy, Saturn and Neptune pushing into Aries, bringing up new ideas, new foundations around joint resources, sex, intimacy, death, debt, detoxing, really making this area of transformation big for you in your life. This is the theme of what we are going to experience in 2025 for you. But before we jump in and do that, I am practicing professional astrologer Stormie Grace. I'm an evolutionary and a humanistic astrologer, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have you. And Virgo, this video is built for you to be an experience. I want you to experience, put it on podcast style, okay? Because I've invited 4 other experts. So you've got 5 astrology experts breaking down every domain of life for you for 2025 so that you are getting specific information into that lens of your living. I'll be giving you your general energy. We've got beautiful Rachel Lang taking care of and talking about your relationships all year long, how to move, how to navigate those. Sama has got you pegged down with the financial energy. You're going to love that section. Kira is bringing her beautiful medicine of medicinal astrology, and Tiffany at the end here is going to help you see where you can really grab these pockets of deeper spiritual development, what you're being called to and called out of all year long. So click in the description box down below. The timestamps are there for every single section for you to take advantage of. And I mean it, have an experience with this. Listen, give yourself the gift of enjoyment while you take in the information, okay? All right, beautiful Virgo friends, if you also have not grabbed your 2025 digital transit calendar, I want to encourage you, click down there and get that thing. It brings the transits right to your phone in your time zone with a little reminder, hey, the moon's going void, of course, plan for that. So if you're really wanting to have more astrology in your life, grab that resource. And if you are wanting to speak the language of astrology, oh my goodness, join me in my courses. That's also in the description box down below. I would love to walk with you all year long. Virgo, so starting right here at the beginning of 2025, we want to keep in mind that Pluto is moving for its long stay into the vibration of Aquarius. And this is important to note because not only is it a massive transformation to societies and the societal and global view of the world and what is right and how it functions. But for you, this is going to be continuing to bring massive transformation to your 6th house space, okay? This is going to be all about your daily routines, Virgo, your health, your wellness, your work environment, service, because Pluto's presence here really is a period where it is asking you to transform your approach to these particular areas. So Virgo, if you are feeling, and you started having this feeling in 2023, if you have this feeling where you're like, I want to dive like deep into health practices or like routines or something, right? I want to go deep and I want to bring a really significant change. I want to uncover habits or lifestyle choices that no longer serve me, are no longer good for my society, things like that. This transit is going to encourage you to do that and to develop a sense of purpose in how you use that information to serve other people. So keep that in mind. Now, we're also coming into 2025 with the brakes on because we've got Mars retrograde. Our planet of doing is facing backwards. So we're not coming in like, yeah, I'm ready to do it. I have all these strong bones that were, the bones were good in 2024. I'm ready to get after it as we cross into 2025. That's not it. Mars retrograde here as we're coming in is in Leo. So not only is Mars retrograde, but it's also in your 12th house, which is much more about a period for you of not only the introspection, but the introspection here, Virgo, is like it's drawing your attention to some unconscious patterns. It's going to ask you and have you looking at some fears that you have, and maybe they've even been hidden. Sometimes we need a transit and we need timing to come around to help us see it. If there are things in the past that are unresolved, this is going to be a transit that brings it up, and it's going to urge you to do it by slowing down. Tune into yourself. Tune in and reflect on anything that has been suppressed, especially anger, frustration because they need to be released. But it's really in the 12th house, these are the things that are happening behind the scenes, right? So there is a spiritual working element here that has to happen, right? In order to uncover, discover, and discard this area, there's a spiritual element to it. Now, the 12th house also brings our attention to people who are in specialized populations, right? Maybe they have some kind of disease or dependency. Maybe they have been victims of domestic violence. They are in prisons, they are in institutions, rehabs, things that you've got going on that are immunity issues with your immune system, things like that that are also hidden, but they are taking a big hit because there's something suppressed or repressed about them. And you're looking to clear that up and have some more inner peace back there, okay? Now, we're going to see on January 7th that Mars is going to retrograde into Cancer. And so it's moving from that Leo energy of the 12th house back, clicking another gear into the 11th house. And this will be in play until February of 2025. So Mars's presence here in the 11th house, this is going to start to highlight your issues around your social circle, around your friendships, and around long-term aspirations that you have for yourself. These are about you, okay? So do it. Use this time, reassess your involvement with certain groups of people in your life, right? Question whether or not what you aspire for your life and this group that you're relating to, this friendship that you're relating to, do they still align? Is this still in alignment of your values? And frustration can be a key of a Mars retrograde. And remember though, Mars retrograde is great for burning off the poison. It brings the conflict or the wound or the poison to the surface, and then it can burn it off. So if you have these frustrations within your social circles or a group dynamic, maybe address it. It's an urge to address it because something is unresolved here. That's why the conflict is coming up. And more importantly, reflect on your role in it and reflect on your role in being a leader in a collective endeavor that will help you resolve conflicts going forward, okay? All right, January 11th brings the true North Node into Pisces, and we're going to see that it brings the South Node, Virgo, into your sign, into your first house. So first of all, the South Node energy here is about release. This is about release, okay? In your first house, Virgo, it is asking you to actively participate in releasing any self-critical tendencies that you've had, any really rigid, way too high personal standards, because those things are actually hindering you from making connection. Right? They are hindering you from connecting. And that North Node energy, lighting up the 7th house of relationships, this is encouraging you to go this direction, shift towards developing meaningful partnerships, but those partnerships have to be based in compassion in those relationships. And if your standards are so high that nobody can ever get in them, or you're the only one that's always right, or you're always cleaning up, you're not going to be able to have the harmony with others that we're seeking. So this period, as we're going to travel with this until 2026, this period is an invitation to balance self-awareness with empathy. And the emphasis here is its growth. You're not going to be able to grow if you don't have the partnership, if you don't have the honest collaboration. So I really want to encourage you this year, Virgo, to embrace the opportunities to have deep, meaningful relationships in your life. Focus on connecting with other people, but in compassionate ways. And in doing so, it'll allow you to do that South Node in your sign with a little bit more efficiency. It'll allow you to let go of some of that self-judgment, embrace more flexible approaches to how you're even allowed to grow, right? So it's really a beautiful time for creating new balance. Now, when we get to March 1st, we're going to see Venus retrograde in Aries, and this lights up your 8th house space. And this is about you reflecting on things of trust, power, intimacy, right? Shared resources, debt, taxes, deep vulnerability. So there, again, Venus retrograde is something very personal. We really do feel it, like our bodies even take it on. So as you are put in a position to revisit, again, unresolved issues, especially within your close personal relationships, right? You're going to be likely in a position where you are Aries. You're looking at you're questioning how you have handled yourself, how you have handled the money, how you have handled your behavior, and if something needs to be detoxed. So it's really a time for looking inward and examining the emotional attachments and the emotional engagements that need healing. But what you're doing is you're not taking the whip back there to be like, bad Virgo, right? It's about focusing on creating a healthier connection, and it's based on mutual respect. It's based on trust. Now, practical things, because I'm a Taurus, okay, I would highly suggest avoid making any major financial decisions, especially anything having to do with a shared resource, a loan, financial aid, any of that kind of stuff. I would highly avoid making those, because as Venus comes out of retrograde, you might be looking back over this and you're like, it's not what I thought it was, or I don't value this the way that I thought I did or I should, okay? All right, when we get to March 14th, we've got a full moon lunar eclipse happening in Virgo, so right there in your first house. Now, this eclipse is going to illuminate all of the themes around you, your self-identity, your personal goals, your image, literally how you're appearing to people in public. And you're being asked to end it, acknowledge it, or make some kind of big adjustment. And Virgo, you get eclipsed. Really, like what people have seen from you before or what you've been presenting before is eclipsed. It gets wiped out. So here, if you feel, moon, a strong urge to really release being so self-critical, let some of that perfectionism go, right? You're like, hold on, this is really preventing me from embracing who I really am under all of this, right? Sometimes we need the help of an eclipse. It's not about good Virgo, bad Virgo. It's simply sometimes we need energetic help. And the eclipse is going to encourage that self-acceptance, that personal growth, and I think also help you clarify your own intentions for who you are and how you want to move forward, but you do it with confidence. So we'll do a separate video just on this, but in a general way, I would encourage you to really use this lunation and the 6 months that follow to reflect on any self-imposed limitations, not the ones from the world, the ones that you put in there, the self-judgment you put in there to say, if I'm not this, then I'm not good enough. I would ask you to really be looking at that, okay? Because the freedom from that is delicious. Now, behind that, on the 29th, we've got a new moon solar eclipse that's going to be happening in Aries, and this is going to light up your 8th house space. Now, this is a chance to plant your seeds of intention, and you have done a lot of work throughout 2024 in the Aries area of your chart. So there's a lot of fresh start energy that I think is available for you here. Now, again, it's about this intimacy. It's about these connections. It's about how deeply you're able to connect with other people, the trust that you have in relationships with other people and the resources around you, intimacy, you see into me. But the 8th house, again, is also about death, debt, detox, the things that need to be cleaned out. So at this particular lunation, I would encourage you to plant your seeds of intention for stability, for financial stability, especially within partnerships, whether that's a business partnership, a loan, a bank, whatever these are, and to deepen your connections with people. Explore growth and how you grow personally and how you cannot grow personally if you do not deepen into relationship with other people. And that, my gosh, you maybe feel really inspired to approach your relationships differently because you are seeing how that helps you heal old wounds and it renews the sense of trust. It's like they go hand in hand here. Now, when we get to March 30th, we're going to see Neptune also move into Aries. So yes, the Aries area, the 8th house has got your attention this year. And as Neptune comes to transit your 8th house, first of all, it brings a bit of a mystical quality to it or like an intuitive quality to it, right? Especially your experience of intimacy, shared resources, finances. So if you're explored or put in a position around your resources where you have to come at it from a more spiritual perspective, where you're moving more in the spiritual dimension, let me say it that way, there's deeper meaning. There's deeper connection here. And Neptune is going to encourage you to go there, dissolve the fears around trust, dissolve the fears around vulnerability, embrace a more compassionate approach to intimacy, to people who struggle in ways that you don't understand, right? But be cautious, especially around financial things, because Neptune can blur the lines and the boundaries of resources. It is just like you are seeing one thing and that is not really truly what it is. Now, as we get to May 24th, we're going to see that we're going to see Saturn moving into Aries as well. And I think that this helps to bring a bit of grounding to some of the reflections that Neptune will bring up for you. But what Saturn is going to do here as it begins this transit is going to call for a disciplined approach to that intimacy, those shared resources, that vulnerability, that personal transformation, that detox, right? Because it's going to really highlight the responsibility pieces. Like financially, what is your responsibility in the partnerships you are in? Okay. It's going to urge you to set really clear, strong boundaries and to take a practical approach to those relationships, those finances. And I do think in terms of just looking at the relationship itself, Saturn encourages maturity. It's like, listen, we need a mature approach to intimacy. And in that, we find a stronger definition, a practical application of healthy boundaries, and that allows the trust to be built. So a lot of that. And I do see, and we'll break this down a lot more as we get to this transit, but I do see for you, Virgo, as well, that the unresolved issues, especially in really close partnerships, you can end 2025 having trusting connections, committed, accountable connections. It looks really beautiful. Okay. When we get to June 9th, we see Jupiter move into Cancer, lighting up that 11th house space, bringing you a lot of optimism, a lot of growth, a lot of expansion to that social circle, friendships, long-term plans, goals, designs, and aspirations you have for yourself and organizations, okay? So, if you're feeling inspired to expand that social circle, or maybe you want to join a new group, or you're starting a group, or you want to connect with old friends, and it's like you're starting renewed. It's an old group, but you're coming with fresh eyes. It's a wonderful period for pursuing that. So I would highly encourage you to look for who are the like-minded people who not only support you, you're able to also support them, but you guys are supporting each other's dreams and your vision. And it's not just an opportunity to grow that social network and like participate in group activities, right? It is really about, you need to be your most nurtured self. And if you are trying to cultivate a positive connection, someplace where people are not like-minded with you, your heart's not going to find home. And this is what we're really looking for, okay? Now, Jupiter is going to square against Saturn on June 15th and then Neptune on the 19th. And this square that creates the tension is about this. It's the tension between, okay, I have these social goals and responsibilities, right, within these relationships that I want to participate in. But I need to have some harmony between my aspirations that I want to achieve here and the obligations that I am actually committed to while I take on these partnerships and relationships. So it's a lot of adjusting. So I would encourage you, especially Jupiter, Saturn, one's the gas, one's the brakes, just reflect on how can you honor both your friendships and your responsibility to your close relationships, and start practicing how you set those boundaries for allowing that it's the place of growing while staying committed. You know what I mean? Now, Neptune comes along in that next square, and it really is, again, this dance between the social ideals, especially financially, and where I have to draw a line to my emotional commitments even, okay? So just be mindful at this time, especially throughout June, of maintaining really clear boundaries with friends or groupings in terms of any place that you are sharing resources. And also, if you can, avoid making really impulsive decisions, especially in social settings, because that will be you're demonstrating you don't have the mastery of boundary there, okay? So just try to grow. Just try to grow. All right. When we get to July 7th, we see Uranus moving into Gemini. This will light up your 10th house space. So yes, the shakeup in the career zone is absolutely real. Expect the unexpected around your career, your public image and reputation, your soul level calling, a title that we call you in public, right? Like, do we call you wife? Do we call you grandfather? Do we call you CEO? Do we call you volunteer, right? This transit is, first of all, at a deep level. It's really an encouragement to explore your unique approach to your professional life. What do you want? Maybe you were taught or have believed that there's only a traditional way to do things, and you have had expectations put on you or you put on yourself. And now you're like, I want to reinvent myself. I want to reinvent my career path. And I want to do something that's a little bit more authentic to my expression and my talents. That's my ambition, right? 10th house, my ambition. So what I want to say here too is two things. One, remember that sometimes the most out of the box innovative thing that we do is we go back to something that was traditional. Here's a great example. You need to take a prescription medication for fill in the blank. And you're like, I actually think that you can treat that with wild yam root, right? So you go back to something traditional. And sometimes that's the most out of the box thing, okay? Now, the other thing I would say is be open to new career or new reputation opportunities, and don't be afraid to stand out. Virgo, you are a humble, beautiful servant, but sometimes you need to say, yeah, I did that, right? And you get to own it and own your ideas and own that you are made of Mercury. You are word magic. So embrace the change, trust your intuition. And when it comes down to making decisions about your career path, it is time for you to be as authentic as is possible and explore that maybe you have an unconventional approach that is your definition of success. Okay, July 31st, Saturn and Neptune are finally here in this beautiful conjunction in that 8th house space. So this is where practicality and idealism kind of get combined because one wants to build structure, the other wants to dissolve. So this is going to be, again, related to that intimacy and those shared resources. So this transit is going to encourage you to bring those spiritual values into your closest relationships, create an ideal relationship. What do you want your relationship to feel like? What do you want your money to feel like? What do you want your therapy to feel like, right? And then you have some practical, disciplined approach like steps in order to achieve that, a disciplined approach to financial wellness or emotional commitments. And that place of mixing the intangible with the steps that make it tangible is really what this transit is trying to get out of you. All right, in September, we are going to eclipse. First, we have the full moon lunar eclipse happening in Pisces, lighting up that 7th house space, and this is September 7th. Now, this is again going to ask you to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to pivot. And this is again an eclipsing. Virgo, you're going to get a complete reset. It's like a wipeout. Okay. But the good news is that it's about bringing insight into your partnerships and your committed relationships, conscious, chosen one-on-one relationships. So if you are feeling that need to let go of patterns and partners that are no longer serving your connections, and you are maybe not serving their connection either, maybe you're just gaining a lot of clarity around what you truly need in a partner, whether that's a business partner, whether that is who do you need to be in a partnership in order to be of service to your partnership. This is the time for making the pivot. It's a time for resolving the relationship issue, letting these questions rise emotionally to the surface and creating space to see it and to be more fulfilled, to have more balance in your partnership, to trust that the imperfect person can still be your perfect person, right? It's really an eclipse that I think is going to encourage you to let go of old patterns, invite a little bit more depth, a little bit more compassion, and a little bit more meaning into your connections. Now, we are going to also have a new moon solar eclipse happening September 21st, and this one is in your sign. Now, earlier in the year, we did some cleanup. We knocked some things out. You were eclipsed, so you got a reset in the you section of life. And now we're going to plant some seeds of intention because the garden has likely been beautifully weeded. Now it's time to plant fresh. So you have an opportunity for that fresh start, and it's around your image, your self-image, your personal goals, to how you approach life, the vibration that you bring into any room. So the eclipses are a time. They're powerful. It's a powerful time to set intentions, plant those seeds of intentions, align with who authentically you are, who you've seen yourself develop into, what you know today, right? Focus on your personal growth. Focus on your image. Yes, we have to focus on our images as well, right? How are we treating our bodies? How are we telling the world and calling a vibration to engage with us? So if you are feeling that inspiration to redefine your identity as a whole, pursue a new goal, take a more proactive approach to something in your own personal transformation, I would really encourage you to do that, because this eclipse is your support network telling you we support you to step into your power, to create a path that supports you in your own evolution and will take you more deeply into the service of yourself, your world, and your relationships. Speaking of those beautiful relationships, Virgo, head on over to listen to your relationship section with the beautiful Rachel Lang, and I will see you all year long.
Virgo, are you ready for your love and relationship horoscope for 2025? I hope so. It is going to be quite a year for you. The South Node moves through your sign starting in January, going all year long. And I can tell you, as a Libra who just had the South Node moving through my sign in 2024, part of 2023, that you're going to need more rest than you think you do. You want to replenish your reserves of energy. If you start to notice any kind of health issues or anything that you need a break, give into it. Really pay attention to what your body is telling you and don't try to push it. I know you were probably hearing about this from other horoscopes in this series, but I'm just giving you that little piece of advice too. When it comes to relationships, when the South Node is in your sign, it is bringing all of those shadow aspects of your personality up front and center. And a lot of them are getting reflected in your relationships. And so for Virgo, some of those include, and I say this with love and affection, I think Virgo is the most underestimated sign. So I just want to tell you, I'm a huge Virgo fan. And what you might notice coming up from those shadows, tendencies of criticism, tendencies of walling yourself off, being so discerning that you don't allow others in to help. Also, sometimes with Virgo, one of those tendencies in relationships is not entering into reciprocal relationships where there's a balance. There you have this affection for service and for being the hero in someone else's story. And sometimes that's very admirable. And there's a long tradition for that I won't go into right now. And there are mythological reasons for that. But I can tell you that in your relationships, this is an area where you want to open up those receiving channels this year. There's also a lot of shifting currents with outer planets changing signs, and you, of all of the signs, are going to feel this year. And in your relationships, that's going to play out in maybe not having a feeling of certainty in the way that you'd like, being on the move in some ways, and so not really feeling like you can ground in. So for you, your call to action for 2025 is to create stability wherever you can and to raise up your hands and surrender and just move into the process, whether that's entering into a new relationship and all of the cascade of emotions that involves, or whether it's making a decision to leave a relationship. You're in motion this year. Without further ado, I have some visual references for you that I want to get into. And so we'll go ahead and do that right now. And here is some information if you want to find out more. And yes, okay, so here we go. Here are the big transits, and you can take a little screenshot of this. This can be, put these dates on your calendar. And these are the larger transits and evolutions this year. So we have shifting currents with the outer planets changing signs, outer planets, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune all move in and out of their current sign and their next sign this year. They finally settle in 2026, but this year there's a lot of motion as that happens. And that's going to play out in your relationships with just feeling like, where are we going? And this could also involve a move for some of you. We have Uranus entering Gemini, and that is going to bring about a lot of maybe uncomfortable change. The eclipses are in your sign and your opposite sign. This definitely has implications for your relationships. And there are fated events that are taking place with your love life, with any business partnerships as well. It's a relationship year that is, for all of us, a little precarious with Mars and Venus going retrograde. A lot of us are questioning our relationship, but you in particular, because of those eclipses. And then we end the year in a more balanced place. And definitely Jupiter in Cancer is going to be one of those transits that is helpful for you in establishing grounding, really feeling like you have a sense of friendship and some security in your relationships. So there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of movement with a real desire to create a foundation for anything that you would like to move forward, either starting a family, entering into a new relationship, or just your relationship with yourself. We start the year with Mars retrograde. Mars retrograde is like a slow start to the year. And this can bring up questions of where are your passions? This is going to be taking place. Mars moves back into Cancer in January, and that has implications for your friendships. And so you might feel a little disconnected from your social circle. You might be wondering if it's time to start reaching out to new people. And so this is a time for reestablishing connections with colleagues, with networks that you used to be a part of. And you could actually open up to forming new relationships throughout this transit. And this is especially true from early January until April. So Mars has an interesting journey while it's retrograde, going from Leo to Cancer. So there's a lot of maybe stops and starts in relationship for you. So just be aware of conflict, be aware of passive aggressive tendencies. If something is concerning you or on your mind, speak it. Don't hold it in or don't try to just dismiss it. Things build up, and when they do, that for you, that can result in taking it on yourself, and that can be a pattern that you don't want that isn't healthy for you. Neptune and Saturn are both weaving in and out of Aries. And so this is bringing us, for you, that Neptune's been in Pisces, your opposite sign, since 2012. That has had a very big implication in your relationships, either because you have fallen in love with an idea or a fantasy or someone else's potential and then had your bubble burst at some point, or you have opened yourself up to love in a way that feels very uncomfortable and vulnerable. Or maybe you've decided to move into more of a celibate or individuated experience. Either way, Neptune has been shifting your heart, patching up and healing the broken heart and any kind of losses that you've had. But it hasn't been a time when you've been able to really gain grounding or feel a sense of certainty in your relationships. And that all starts to shift this year. And if you're born at the very end of Virgo, then this could be a year where you're still wrestling with some of these questions about your love life specifically, or business partners as well. Saturn is the planet that relates to the commitments that we make. And with Saturn moving through your opposite sign off and on this year, it's asking you to really evaluate those commitments. And if you've been single and you are ready to be in a relationship, Saturn makes it very uncomfortable for the status quo to continue. And so that could mean more commitments for you. It could mean taking relationships to the next level, making a commitment to be in love. Venus is also retrograde, and this is March. You want to mark March on your calendar. This is one of our more challenging months. It has a lot of movement. We have Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, we have the eclipses. And this is especially activating your sign because Venus retrograde moves back into Pisces. It starts in Aries, goes back into Pisces. And so it's really asking you to shine a light on the ways in which your relationship does not support your wholeness, your desires. And so lots of questions about relationships and about are you really satisfied? Are you feeling fulfilled? Is there pleasure in the relationship? If you're not having fun, then you can very easily sink into habituation and things can get very mundane. And so this Venus retrograde brings all of those questions up and says, do I need a new beginning in some way? And maybe the new beginning is really just you and your partner finding new ways to engage in your relationship, to have fun. You want to prioritize fun in March. Otherwise, it can be emotional. It can be a buildup of energy. And I'm going to show you these charts for the eclipses because they particularly have a resonance with you. And I want to show you here all of these Pisces planets. We have Ceres, which is a dwarf planet that relates to how we're nurtured and how we nurture one another, how we receive nurturing. We have Saturn. Saturn is stability, it's structure, it's commitment. Saturn's putting a lot of pressure on you to make decisions in relationship. You don't have to jump ship if you're having awareness that your relationship isn't working. Saturn just says, dedicate yourself to something, and then we'll create a plan together. The sun is in Pisces. Usually when the sun is in our opposite sign, we feel a little bit more tired. We can feel like we're pushing against resistance. And so there's naturally a sense of conflict. Then the North Node, wherever the North Node is, that's where all of us are pulling our focus. So the North Node in Pisces is really about universal love, but for you, it is about making commitments to relationships. And then Neptune brings awareness of the dreams that we have and the desires we have and the ways in which those dreams and desires aren't being fulfilled. Also, it can bring up a lot of past guilt or remorse or regret. And so I want to encourage you, because Venus is in Aries and retrograde, not to feed some of those self-defeating thoughts. We all make relationship decisions based on what we need at any time. And so self-forgiveness is a critical factor in this lunation. And then we have the March 29th eclipse, which pulls the energy back to yourself. And it's a time when you're really shining a spotlight on the ways in which you partner with others, specifically those financial entanglements that you have that feel out of balance, or the ways in which you might be supporting someone else and it's starting to feel like it's outworn its welcome. Neptune is right there next to Venus. Venus is in between the North Node and Neptune. And so here you have a real desire to merge and to have that soul to soul relationship. And if the relationship lacks depth, if it lacks meaning, if it feels like things are just on the surface, this is going to be one of those moments when you have some extra courage to make a change. If it's time to leave a relationship, or if you would like to work on the relationship in a more focused way. Pluto opposite Mars, that's happening in April. And this is one of those points of tension in the year. From January till April, we have a lot of retrograde activity, and that can make things uncomfortable. The eclipses can make things uncomfortable, but the uncomfortability is for a purpose. It is just to motivate you to move to the next destination, whether that's a personal destination of a goal or a mission, a call that you're receiving, or whether that is a relational destination, like making a decision that benefits the relationship in some way, as in starting a family, as in moving, as in maybe you're an empty nester and you're trying to navigate what comes next. There's a lot of decision making in the early part of the year, and that can lead to a catharsis that stimulates change. And this is like a before and after transit. We also have Jupiter moving into Cancer, July 9th to July 29th. And this is lovely for your friendships, for your community. And so this is one of those times that if you are single, spend the summer opening yourself up to meeting new people. This might be a time when you're establishing yourself in a new community and you want to make friends with like-minded people. And so you're finding virtual communities and virtual spaces to belong to. But this is your time to get involved. And this goes on for a year from July 9th of 2025 to July 29th of 2026. Mercury retrograde is always a big factor for you because it's your ruling planet. This year, Mercury stations retrograde in the fire signs. I think about it, Mercury retrograde in fire signs, as being like a comedy of errors, being like a time of just like mishaps, missed connections. And it can be, if you have a sense of humor with it, particularly the one in November 9th through 29th, then it doesn't have to be disruptive to your relationships. That one is especially interesting in how it shifts things in your home. And so this could be a time when you're reflecting on home purchases, home related decisions, or maybe you're thinking about refinancing or looking at how to monetize your home by renting it out. And so this is a time when you, if you are married, if you are in a partnership, when you're really evaluating and reevaluating decisions related to your home and your family. Then those September eclipses, let's get right into them. So September 7th is a lunar total eclipse. These are eclipses that are taking place when the sun is in your sign. When an eclipse is in your sign, they stir up all of the fuel necessary for you to make a change. The moon, the North Node in Pisces, means that there is a level of polarity involved with these. And what that means for relationships is that you're more aware of the differences that you have with other people. And those little tiny things that your partner does that annoy you start to become so big and so pronounced that you have no choice but to address them. And in doing that, you get to the other side where you feel more committed. You feel more at peace with your relationship decisions. So this can be a tension that pulls you back into the depth of the relationship or a recommitment. If you are single, this can open your heart in a way that allows you to remove your walls and to allow someone in. There's a lot of letting go with the September 21st eclipse. Look at all of this tension here with the sun, the moon, Mars, Saturn. These are all at the last few degrees of their respective signs, and Neptune is getting ready to move back into that 29th degree of Pisces. Being more aware of what needs to end. But there's a kite aspect pattern in this lunation, which is, I think of as being like you have a destination in mind, you know where you're going, and there's energy, there's the wind that's taking you. Kites involve a grand trine, and a grand trine can be instant manifestation. So if you've had relationship complications, if you've had questions, this can be one of those times of just absolute clarity. And usually events unfold faster than we are comfortable with right on the heels of eclipses, but they can take a few months depending on how long the eclipse is. And for this one, you'll feel it within 3 to 4 months. There will be a ripple effect of change in your life, specifically related to relationship changes. So big milestones this year with relationships. September is intense. We also have Uranus moving in Gemini, and this can instigate changes in how you identify yourself. In some ways, that could relate to your career, but becoming a parent for the first time, becoming single, becoming married is also a change in your public identity. And so this starts a 7-year cycle that really gets going next year. This happens from July 7th to November 8th of 2025. So lots of change on the horizon. And then I'm going to bring in the good news. So we have a lot of action, a lot of motion, a lot of activity all throughout the year, but especially the first quarter of the year. And the last quarter of the year is when we can ground some of that motion and we can establish new ways of relating to one another. There's a lot of emotional healing this year. So if you've had a broken heart and you've been nurturing that broken heart, this is a time when you find all the support systems that you need to heal. That grand trine on November 17th, we actually have a few days there in mid-November that are really potent for compassion, for empathy, for coming together with someone if you've had difficulties in that relationship. And we end the year with a grounded Capricorn season. Mars is in Capricorn in December, and that can be very lovely for your romance. And so that offers some possibilities for you single Virgos who might be looking for a fling, or even if you don't want something long term, this can be a really good time to get out there and start dating, to try new techniques, new practices. And I'm going to leave you with a mood board. Here is your mood board for 2025. So it's a paradigm shift, big changes with the outer planets moving into new signs. It's a time to get focused about the direction that you're going in. It's a time of healing. It's a time of patching up and repairing any heartbreak, heartache. And it's also a time of committing, of coming together in ways that really feel supportive and reciprocal, of balancing those polarities in relationship. There you go, Virgo. There is your horoscope for 2025 for love and relationships. What do you think? Comment below, and I will be checking the comments on a regular basis and sending you some energy, sending you some love. As someone who's coming out of the South Node in their sign, I'm going to pass the baton to you and say, you've got this. Just keep staying strong, staying open, staying curious.
Virgo. So on January 11th, the North Node is going to enter Pisces in the 12th, in the 7th house, opposite you. So that talks about partnerships, contracts, and legal matters. So business partnerships and open enemies. So this highlights the potential for growth through business collaborations or just being a little bit more competitive in the workplace. You might find that aligning with someone who complements your skills can actually bring financial rewards. Legal contracts and agreements. This is a key time for reviewing contracts, whether related to business, real estate, or personal finance. The influence of Pisces here, you want to be careful because that can blur clarity. So just pay attention to the fine print before you sign anything. And joint ventures can be key here. So these are things that you can consider entering business with a partner. Just be cautious of any vague terms and any terms that might benefit them more than you, because you don't want any misunderstandings here, particularly as we get into early February when Neptune conjoins the North Node in your 7th house. You want to be cautious here because Neptune conjoined the North Node can talk about confusion in partnerships. So you want to be careful that we're not seeing our partners with rose-colored glasses, or that we have overly idealistic views as it relates to our business deals or the ventures or the projects that we're working on. So we want to ensure any agreements that we're working on are based on practical realities. Right? We don't want to be with people who are thinking we can get more done than we actually can, or vice versa. So make sure we're clear on what each person is supposed to deliver. Long-term collaborations, they'll look good, particularly if people share your spiritual and financial values. This is key, so make sure you're communicating and talking about those, and that these aren't just being assumed or that they're unclear or fuzzy. While this can be a time of idealistic collaboration, we want to stay grounded in what we know and what we expect and what the practical outcomes can be. Now, spiritual ventures, again, they do look good here. So if you are thinking of starting a new spiritual venture under this energy, it could be blessed, particularly if they have holistic ideals. You just want to proceed with caution and with a long-term patience and vetting any partners and agreements before you move forward with them. Then we have Mars moving direct at the end of February here in your 10th house of career, public image, and reputation. So Mars really wants to energize the career and the public image. It's been spending a lot of time here. So you've been contemplating this since the end of 2024, what you want to change. And now might be the time where you're driven to push forward in your professional life, which can lead to things like promotion or new leadership roles for some of you. For some of you, this can be real estate and public projects. It can be a really good time to focus on any real estate or property ventures tied to your career. Some of you might be considering investing in commercial real estate or home-based real estate or working from home or building a home office or property that can enhance how you show up in the world. Your reputation and business can be affected here too. Mars is considered to be in the fall sign of Cancer. So while Mars can really give you the drive to succeed, Cancer can be an emotional sign here. And so this can make you really sensitive to how others perceive your work, or you don't want to have any emotional outbursts at work that affect how people see us and affect our income, is what I'm saying here. So we just want to be careful about that. Now, the middle of March, we have a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo in the first house of you, which talks about your personal initiatives, your identity, and how people see you in the physical body. So you are moving forward with things here, and this is causing you to rethink your personal financial goals. And some of you might find yourself making decisions about how to really align your finances with your long-term aspirations. So this can be a really good time, rather more than like New Year's resolutions, but this can be a good time around solstice, not necessarily on the day of the eclipse, but around solstice here to really think about what are my goals and how can I shift what I'm doing personally, the actions I'm taking to better my financial situation. How can I take on more financial independence? Where the detailed nature of Virgo will be pushing you to take control of your personal finances. So this can be a good time to set up a new budget or just work towards financial independence by doing things related to self-improvement. The first house, improving yourself. So this can be personal development, taking care of the body, getting new outfits and getting new headshots, wellness programs. Financial investments in yourself will really pay off in the long run, especially if they're helping you build long-term security. On May 24th, this is looking like Saturn is going to be joining you in Aries in your eighth house of shared resources, market income, investments, inheritances, taxes, and debts. So Saturn in your eighth house of shared resources here talks about a disciplined approach to investments. So this can involve real estate, joint ventures, or inheritance planning. We want to avoid any risky investments here and focus on long-term growth here. And this can be a really great time to review any debts, loans, or tax obligations, because Saturn's disciplined energy here will help you set up a structured plan to manage or pay off any long-term financial obligations. Inheritance planning. So if you're involved in managing family assets or inheritances, now can be the time to set up a formal plan or trust. Be practical and realistic about any future growth, particularly for any shared resources, though. So you guys have Jupiter in moving into your 11th house of Cancer. And this is nice because the 10th house has to do with public career and legacy and the things that you're visibly seen in the world doing. And that's where Jupiter was before it moved into the 11th, which means that the energy of prosperity and expansion, Jupiter is moving to the east, which is towards you, the ascendant, which means good things, Jupiter, are being brought to the 11th house. The 11th house is where gains and profits and results from what we've done in the 10th house can manifest. So these are things like long-term investments, income, and like increases in salary and things like that are possible for some of you Virgo risings with the energy of Jupiter in the 11th house. The 11th house also rules things like advisors, alliances, influencers, older brothers or sister like energy from people who are actually friends, not necessarily blood related. It's people who your memberships, your clubs, your larger groups or organizations that you're involved with, any consultants or any clubs that you might be involved in, people who follow you. And they also have to do with your long-term hopes, goals, and dreams as well, and alliances. So Jupiter wants to bless all of those things. And this can be where you find luck in your organizations, in your friends, in your clubs, in your aspirations, and see the realization of some of your long-term goals and aspirations coming true and being blessed by how you gain money. So any social causes or anything where there's a sense of duty or care or attempting to heal or expand or educate or bring law, order, wisdom, expansion, growth, generosity, these are all Jupiter keywords here, to your social spheres and your social life, this will really bring a lot of fulfillment through engaging with those people, places, and things, and potentially increases in long-term income for you. And so when you blend that with that being in Cancer, this is again really talking about being more nurturing and supportive of those things that I mentioned, that those 11th house themes, all right? So bringing that expansive sense of intuition, emotional intelligence, maybe working on those things if you need to, being more generous and caring and creating warm environments for friends, the older brother or sister like person in your life, the clubs, the relationships, the memberships, bringing more nurturing or experiencing more of that. Jupiter's going to bring that and bring blessings in those regards, which is really nice. Then we have Uranus in Gemini entering your 10th house. And Uranus, as you know, this is the planet of change, revolution. It's the one planet that's tilted on an axis. All the ones are spinning another way, except Uranus, it's doing its own thing. So this is the energy of where you'll be doing your own thing compared to the status quo. This is innovation, change, rebellion, unexpected events. On the mundane side of things, sometimes when we see Uranus in harsh aspect, we can literally see like earthquakes and building collapses. So where are you going to shake things up in your own life? Uranus in Gemini can emphasize restlessness, particularly in the mental sphere, because Gemini has a lot to do with how we communicate, how we think, information that's coming through the five senses, which is what Mercury rules, and Mercury rules Gemini. So the mercurial side of things in your life are going to be shaken up a bit, right? So it can be emphasis on a restless mind, thinking a lot of ideas, a lot of unconventional, rebellious thinking in ways that you haven't quite thought before. And this is going to be enhanced with the AI boom that we're all going to be dealing with because Uranus is going to be in Gemini for a long time. So communication and learning, skills, how we use our hands. What's going to change up here for you when Uranus enters Gemini as it relates to how you do your work? Are you going to be the pioneer of some fancy new AI tool that we all end up using? Or are you going to be speaking out more about maybe not using these things, speaking out against these things, or creating tools or using tools to speak better, to write more prolifically, to enhance your skill sets? If you're an artist and you write with your hands or create things with your hands, how can technology enhance that perhaps? The writing, the speaking you might do, the thinking you might be doing, intellectual pursuits, communication, learning, siblings, local communities and environments. How can those things be enhanced by you thinking outside of the box and embracing new technologies and new media? That's really the question. And again, the 10th house has to do with legacy, public image, what you're seen in the world doing. And Uranus wants to shake things up and bring out the rebel in you. So, how can you take a non traditional approach to your career and your public image? How can you go the more independent route? This might mean a shift in career. This might mean promotions, sudden endings, sudden connections and paths in which your career might be taking a complete 180 and then adding a couple extra degrees because why not? Let's do something completely unconventional here. So that can be where things are shifted in terms of sudden and unexpected changes in your career or your public status. This might make some of you an overnight success. This might make some of you overnight have to really just change what you're doing in terms of career. It really depends on how it impacts your chart. The 10th house is going to involve energies including community standing, public conduct, conditions required for success. So Uranus wants you to shake things up in order to be successful in a certain way. This is going to relate to authority figures and bosses and maybe even government involvement for some of you, fame in some cases, and maybe even, journeys as it relates to money matters, short-term local travel could be one of the ways that you guys make more money as it relates to career. And Uranus, can be very rebellious and revolutionary. So in some cases, there might be shifts in both popularity or maybe public notoriety for some of you. And Uranus is again rebellious in a way that, if we're looking at it from the Aquarian side of things, can be kind of the black sheep in terms of the rebel connotation. So this might be a scandal or some kind of public issues for a small, minute minority. It really depends on how this is impacting your chart, but there could be some shakeups in terms of how you're seen in the world stage. And again, this wants to shake things up for the better. And really, ultimately, this is a planet of freedom. So the important thing for you, Virgos, is how can the energy of Uranus make you free in terms of how you make your income? And the Aquarian Uranian side of things talks about intermittent, large, sudden chunks of money. So this could mean some of you getting more involved in things like stocks or markets or freelancing or gig work or opportunities where the money doesn't come regularly like a steady paycheck. You might have to, do a short-term gig here. Some of you might even be as simple as door dashing or Ubering, but it could be something where you're doing a bunch of work, hard, sudden, fast, shocking, and then you get a big payout, and then you need to rest, and you don't know when that next opportunity might come, kind of a thing. So look out for second or third streams of income to really help you guys out and support and boost the ways that you make money, whether that's through markets, gig work, using your hands, developing new skills, communication, learning things, mercurial, local, environmental things like that. Then September 7th, we'll have a full moon eclipse in Pisces in your seventh house, which talks about partnerships, contracts, and legal matters and open enemies. And so this can look like shifts in business partnerships. This eclipse may bring endings or transformations in business partnerships, where you might decide to dissolve a partnership or renegotiate a contract to better align with your goals, or a partnership that you're in might come to you and say, hey, I want to kind of renegotiate this or relook at how we work together here. In some cases, we want to watch out for emotional financial decisions here, where Pisces energy can really blur the line between emotional and financial decisions. We want to separate the two. Book a session with me if you're going through a particular situation that you want to talk through from a financial astrological perspective. But we want to be able to separate feelings from business choices, particularly in joint ventures or contractual agreements during this time. Legal settlements for some of you, where this can signify the resolution of legal matters, whether it's through business contracts or personal finances, where you can finalize a legal settlement that impacts your long-term financial strategy. So look out for that. In the beginning of the month, this is a full moon eclipse, so it's bringing something to fruition that needs to come to a culmination. And in many cases is looking quite positive for some of you, and in other cases it needs to be something that needs to come to an end. And on the 21st of September, we have a new moon of the solar eclipse in Virgo in the first house of you, of self, personal initiatives, identity, and how people see you. So this looks like new financial beginnings, where it can be a really good time, Virgos, for some of you to set financial goals and start new ventures, where you might find yourself taking on a new project or an investment that really enhances your financial independence. Self-investment, spending on you, investing in yourself, whether it's through your education, personal development, or wellness, the physical body. These investments will help create a strong foundation for future financial stability for you. So go for it for investing in the self. And again, getting realigned with financial goals, budgeting, making clarity, goals, knowing what you want, and checking in with yourself from the past solar eclipse, the past lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo. How did we do there? Right? This happened where we had a full moon lunar eclipse in the first house on March 14th, where I brought up some of these themes. So looking back at that, how are we doing here? And then making sure that we have clarity in terms of what will benefit the self, Virgo. This is what we should be looking at. So the year looks really good to me here, Virgos. I like the focus on practical investments, joint ventures, personal financial planning. If you're not sure what practical investments to look at from a portfolio perspective, my 2025 financial report covers ETF, stocks, and sectors that are likely to do, from a probability perspective, the most bullish, and it covers when they're likely to be bearish from a financial astrology perspective and a fundamentals perspective as well. So that might be beneficial for some of you if you're into that kind of thing. Some of you guys with the eclipses in your first and seventh houses, that will bring attention to personal finances and partnerships, while Saturn in your eighth requires discipline and shared resources and long-term investments. With that, best of luck to you, Virgos. Be well. One love to you. Peace.
Hi there, Kira Sutherland here, bringing you your 2025 health astrology. And this one's for Virgo. So my gorgeous Virgos, already health conscious, already pretty aware, analyzing what's going on with your health and your body. If you didn't know, Virgo rules the small intestines. So a lot of the digest, assimilate, upper digestion is Cancer and the moon in the stomach, but Virgo is your small intestines, which is actually where we discern what foods we've eaten and actually select to take them across the gut or intestinal lining to turn them into who we are and what we're manifesting. You also have a big rulership of the nervous system, especially the fight, flight, to digest, relax, sympathetic, parasympathetic part of the nervous system. So I know you know that already. So let's talk transits and what is happening for Virgo. So are there big personal planets are always going to come through Virgo every year, but there's a lot happening in your opposite sign, as did last year, but this year as well. We have the finalizing of a lot of planets trying to come out of Pisces into Aries. And I think that is going to be really interesting because what it says to me for the Virgos is this is an adjustment year. It's a year to really take stock of the things you've learned while those planets, i.e. Neptune and Saturn, very different speed planets, but what has been going on for you as those planets have been opposite your sign, have outside influences really affected and altered how you have to deal with your health. Sometimes it's that it's health issues of others and you've had to kind of bring it in and it's affected you and your health. But also I just want you to think about, Pisces is the immune system. But we know that 70 to 80% of the immune system actually resides in our digestive system in a very Virgo areas. And so it's a year where you probably already have been over the last couple of years, but this year is another year to really support the immune system. You can support it via the digestive system and supporting the nervous system. You have part rulership of the nervous system with that Mercury rulership anyway. And so really watching how the foods you're eating are affecting your stress levels, are supporting the stress levels, or sugar, caffeine, alcohol, big stress for the digestive system as well as the immune system. If we're not eating well or we're stressed, our cortisol levels go higher. Cortisol is actually Mars. But what it does is it suppresses the immune system and also allows the integrity of the gut lining. Too much stress really causes issues with the small intestine's gut lining. So yeah, it's a year where I want further support of your digestion and, probiotics or probiotic fermented foods, prebiotic foods such as fermented foods or good, I've gone blank, good fiber-rich foods, really keeping that digestion happy. But one of the best ways for you to keep your digestion happy is to support your nervous system. So supporting the nervous system happens with good essential fatty acids, be it oily fish or fish oils, olive oil, avocados, raw seeds and nuts, and some great nervous system. My favorite nutrient for the nervous system or nutrients are your B vitamins, which are found in a lot of your healthier foods and grains or via supplement, as well as magnesium. Magnesium is amazing for Virgos. So be it through foods like dark green leafy veggies, or through supplements. But again, anybody taking supplements needs to check with their primary care practitioner if they're already on medications. So really calming that nervous system so that the digestion and thus digestion and immune system can be supported. Because one of the other things going on this year is you're back to eclipse season. So yes, we start the year with, sorry, I'm jumping topics. We start the year with a Mars retrograde in Leo, which if you're a Virgo rising, that's your 12th house, which is also the immune system. And Mars is adrenals, but also part of kind of your army and immune system. So again, you're starting off the year. I want you to start slow, nourishing, reviewing how you spend your energy, Mars. Maybe doing more gentle styles of exercise like yoga and Pilates and walking. Not pushing it too hard during that first 6 weeks of a retro Mars that we're starting the year in. And supporting that immune system as well. Foods that support the immune system, turmeric, onions, garlic, all of which are ruled by Mars, by the way. Yeah, starting slow and gentle and reviewing how you spend your energy to support that nervous system and the immune system. We have Saturn still sitting in that opposite sign, Pisces. So again, support of that immune system is still important this year until it kind of moves off into Aries. We have Neptune also still in Pisces, but kind of move into Aries for a little while and back. So again, finding our boundaries, Neptune is the disillusion of boundaries and that collective. But again, Neptune can be associated with the immune system. And with that being opposite you, again, we just have this pull. So yeah, really investigating and supporting your immune system this year will allow everything to flow better. I started to say it before. It's into eclipse season for you. The nodes are moving into, we're going to have North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo. And the South Node, we need to think about wherever it's transiting. We always need to look at what house that's happening for us and support that health-wise and activity-wise. But the South Node is also kind of where we lose energy. I think of the South Node kind of like a bucket with holes in it, whereas the North Node is really where we're pulling in energy. And so with the South Node transiting Virgo, it's just another reinforcement of everything I've just said. I'm not overly worried for you guys. It's just the detail needs to be attended to, which I know you're so good at. So I would love you to really get out those recipe books and get re-inspired for healthy cooking rather than quick grab cooking. Taking the time to relax that nervous system, to support cortisol levels, support the immune system, and just really be gentle with yourselves, especially during the eclipses. Which I'm trying to find where I've written that down, but you should be looking those up. Eclipses, March 14th or thereabouts, depending where you live. September 7, September 21. Those are the Virgo Pisces eclipses. So just, again, not pushing hard during those times, nourishing, finding your boundaries around how you're giving to others versus giving to yourself. And really, it's a year where I want you to not say yes to everybody else's projects. I need you to save energy for yourself, your projects, and your health, and really find that time that you're so good at doing this when you have the time, doing your daily health as like a sacred ritual, right? Be it breathing exercises, cooking, waking up in the morning and taking some sun, which is incredible for the immune system and vitamin D levels. safe sun, of course. But yes, just slowing down this year and getting into your rhythms of health, ritual, sacred ritual. My health is a sacred ritual on a daily basis. That's kind of your mantra for the year. I wish you well. Please take good care of yourself. And yeah, just slow when the bigger things are happening, and nourish, and lots of sleep. Yes, you. Virgos, put the phone down a couple hours before, get yourself some blue light blocking glasses if you don't own any this year. Get them this year if you don't own any, and get back to your beautiful circadian rhythm routine. And that is probably one of the best things you can do for your stress and immune system.
Hey Virgo, I'm Tiffany Harelik, and I'm here to give you your 2025 spiritual development forecast. And so before we get started, I want you to hop into the description box, click the link for your 2025 horoscope PDF, and download it so you can follow along throughout the presentation, and then also so that you'll have it all year long. So while you are doing that, let me get started and weave the numerology into the astrology for this year. So numerology divides life into 9-year cycles, and 2025 is a 9-year. That means we've made it somewhere, that something is culminating, something is ending, something is integrating from the last 9 years. So all of those seeds that you've been planting, all of that hard work that you've been putting in, it is paying off, and the karma boomerang is coming back around, and you're going to be able to enjoy some of the fruits from the seeds that you've been planting. So just know that there are beginnings within endings. There are pathways, that this year is a transition year. And sometimes there can be a sense of urgency with the 9. We want it when we want it. We're not willing to wait and be patient for, divine planning. And so divine timing is here. And this is how we're going to start to understand and bring order to the chaos of life, is through looking at the numerology and astrology forecasts together. All right. So hopefully you have your PDF downloaded, and I will start this presentation with you all. One more quick thing before we get started. If you use the code Stormie 2025, you can get $10 off the Wise Skies Digital Astrology Calendar. This goes on any device, any platform. I personally use Google Cal all the time, and so I just look up and see, oh yeah, this is what's happening in the planets today. It's an awesome little forecast tool. It's good for any level of astrology enthusiast. You don't have to know astrology to enjoy it. But it shows you the retrogrades and the eclipses, and it brings in the fixed stars and the full moons and all of the cycles of the planets that you're going to want to know about. So yep, use that code and enjoy it. And what we're going to do today, guys, I'm going to give you a brief little description of the planets in terms of spiritual development. I'm going to give you the quarterly breakdown, which each quarter means for you specifically. And then I'm also going to look at your major theme for 2025. So the planets in spiritual development, as I look at Mercury, I look at it through the lens of decision making. There's a quote, right? It has been said that decisions come in the form of choices that we make, right? Every day that they come to our doorstep. And so these decisions and the choices that we make, what is the quality of our mind and the biochemistry of our mind, and the neutrality and peaceful state of our mind when we're making these decisions? And I want you to understand, to study yourself and assess the quality of your decisions. Are you making decisions from a place of fight, flight, fright, or freeze? Or are you in a place of neutrality where everything is calm and steady? What happens to your decisions when you're in one of those altered states? Venus represents not just love and money, but how we spend and receive our energy with this precious human life. Mars, you can look at your natal Mars and write a spiritual mission statement. Jupiter represents our faith, Saturn, our discipline, Uranus, our friend groups, and the people that help us and encourage us in terms of forward thinking, reinventing ourselves. And so Uranus is our spiritual network. Neptune shows us what we need to dissolve to evolve, what is fading away. Neptune represents that great yoga teacher in the sky. Pluto represents that subconscious, but also the secrets and our redemption story, the things that we have to grow through and heal through, and then give that medicine back to others. Chiron, the master healer. The moon represents our intuition and how we are uniquely psychic, how all of our senses extend into the metaphysical world, and how we begin to hear and learn and discern information from spirit. And so if this type of work is new to you, I have a product called 40 Days of Spirit, and it's an email product, and it teaches you how your unique abilities, how you can train your unique abilities. The nodes is another great thing to look at in terms of spiritual development. The North Node shows us what we are eating and ingesting and embracing and chewing. It's the head of the dragon, right? And then the South Node shows us what we are letting go of, what we are eliminating. In 2025, Pluto's staying the same, but 4 outer planets are changing signs. And so it is going to feel like a very different energy. It's going to feel like a very different year. Okay, so for you, Virgo, in the first quarter, this is similar to the Leo first quarter. So if you feel like you're hearing some of the same themes, you are. So Virgo, I want you to focus on your financial sobriety. Cleaning things up with your finances is going to clear up your energy so that you can start living more intentionally and living just more in your service heart so that you know intentionally where your dollars are going and what is happening, right? So there you go. So the nodes shift. This first quarter is the longest, so bear with me. The nodes are going to shift from Aries Libra, the me-we continuum, into Virgo Pisces, your sign, which is all about health, wellness, and blending mind, body, spirit health, right? So this is your business. You know what to do. What we're doing, because the South Node is in your sign, we're trying to eliminate or downplay some of the challenging side of Virgo. And we're trying to embrace or open or digest or receive some of the better aspects of Pisces, okay? So letting go of being overly critical with ourselves and others, controlling, trying to map everything out, trying to make a perfect plan, perfectionism, things like this. I have FADE in there too. So FADE stands for fixing, arguing, defending, and explaining. So if you find yourself wanting to do those things, you might check yourself. Am I trying to control the situation? Am I not accepting it for what it is? And then in terms of embracing Pisces, right? That's the more spiritual side. Where am I willing to go with the flow a little bit more? Where am I willing to have some forgiveness and just let some people off the hook and just know that people are people and not take things personally, right? So for you specifically, Virgo, again, you're going to want to focus on relationships that are have that spiritual, ethereal quality to them, and you're going to want to let go of any tendencies to make everything perfect and right. We're doing the next right thing. We're in right relationship to ourselves and to our higher power. That's all we can do, one day at a time, one moment at a time. And what we're letting go of are any bad habits that we have going on, such as those that I mentioned before, being overly critical, doing things that are unfulfilling, and wasting time on stuff that just takes us away from our spiritual walk. Now, Saturn is going to be very close to Neptune here in February, and we are going to trace this pattern into 2026. But Saturn and Neptune are kind of riding closely together, and there's a big duality. Saturn is reality, Neptune is fantasy. Saturn is the borders of the river, Neptune is the river. So we need them both working together. Saturn is business, Neptune is spirituality. And so I know that this year especially is going to have a tone of bringing your spiritual work to your heart in a big, big, big way. So there's some dualities listed for you. Now, Mars is retrograde as we start out the year. It will go direct here at the end of February. It's started out retrograde in Leo, and it will back up into Cancer. And so, Mars retrograde acts like a mini Venus in the sky. It's a little bit more subdued, a little bit more laid back. And what we can see with that Mars energy, there can be some pent up emotions or frustrations that don't know where to go, and that can spill out sideways. And so you might be having a normal day and something triggers you and you're like, where did that come from? Or you see it out there in the world, because you're not going to do that. You're going to take a deep breath and have a nice, healthy response, right? This is a time of emotional navigation. And so we all have that inner fire, that spiritual passion, and I want you to train it to focus your fire well. Your friendships, your social circles, there could be some tension in there. So you might be revisiting, what kind of friends that you really have? Who is it that you're hanging out with? And that's who you become like. There might be opportunities for healing conversations if something is stirred up amongst friends, siblings, neighbors, your social circles. Yeah, so we always want to avoid overreacting, of course, but we just don't want to take things personally. And yes, it's important to build healthy emotional boundaries where we need to, but sometimes you just got to drop the rope and stop fighting. Stopping fighting changed my life significantly. It is a huge part of my spiritual testimony, and I highly recommend experimenting with it because, wow, the effects have been incredible for me. So as Mars goes direct, we get a mini Mars in the sky because Venus retrograde acts like mini Mars. So now we have two Marses going through the sky. Venus retrograde helps us reassess, reevaluate, resolve, recharge the batteries of our heart. And it helps us redo all the areas that Venus governs, which is love and money, right? Our core values, our material possessions, the way that we are in relationship with other people. So here's some things to do during Venus retrograde. It's a good time to reconnect, right? It's a good time to just be in acceptance. It's a good time to enjoy some of the finer things of life. And what not to do is change your appearance, make big, huge decisions. Gossip is never going to be okay. And then starting arguments, that's not how we resolve things, right? Fading is a good way to stay in conflict. So fix, argue, defend, explain. We don't want to do that, especially right now. And so for you, Virgo, your relationship dynamics are coming under the microscope. You are reassessing how you are spending and receiving your energy. Who are the people that you want to be with, and what is it that you think you need from them? And are you creating your own self-worth based on whether they're paying attention or not? There's lots of themes of spiritual development to explore here, right? Mercury then goes retrograde. So Venus and Mercury are kind of retracing the steps backwards together through the skies here through Aries and Pisces. And so Mercury, we talked about in the beginning, as being associated with the nervous system and how we make decisions from a clear-headed place. For you, Virgo, this is going through your sector of relationships and shared resources. And so Mercury retrograde is a good time to pivot, reconsider, redo, and edit, but not necessarily launch the thing. So you're going to have some pivots coming up when it comes to shared resources, taxes, your tax structure, any joint finances, any property you share with other people, intellectual property, things like this are coming up to reevaluate. You might want to redo your estate. You might want to redo your tax structure. You might want to have a focus on relationships and really get into a place of gratitude with people that you've either taken for granted. It might be a time when you reconnect with people that you have been in love with before, or old flames can come back around, or some other conversation from the past comes up and is as a heart healer, right? It doesn't have to be an actual person. Okay, so we've got 4 eclipses. Of course, there's the first 2 are in March, and the first one and the last one are in your sign. So that's your sign right there, that this is a year of personal like rebranding yourself, redoing your personal image. You are not the same Virgo that you used to be. There will be either too much work or not enough. There will be a huge emphasis on health or a lack of health, right? And so your health and routine and who you are and how you shine is going to be put under the microscope for a reality check for you. So yeah, this is a huge personal turning point for you. This cycle started back in September of 2023. So you might check in with your astrologer to get some clarity on, what's going on, the cycles in your life and how they are unfolding for you. And just know that this is a shedding of skin. This is like a snake shedding its skin. You are emerging new, different, beautiful, and more healthy than before. And set your intentions, right? Now, the second eclipse is a new moon solar eclipse, so it starts off a new 2.5-year cycle that will culminate in June of 2027, which is a fascinating year. It's in Aries. Aries eclipse are shaker-uppers. You'll see people steam up really fast and then cool down quickly. I want you to be careful to not be too impulsive. We see people quit jobs, get divorced, move, make drastic decisions, and sometimes that needs to happen. There gets to be a boiling point, and sometimes it feels very regrettable. So I want you to go slow with any big decisions and be really careful with fire hazards. Aries eclipses have feisty energy. And please know that eclipses, you can feel your eclipse moment like 90 days in advance. It doesn't have to happen right on this day. So yeah, what's going on with your intimate relationships, your shared resources? How are you connecting the dots between love and money? And is that good, or do we need to rewire that story, right? Do we need to be more self-sufficient? Do we need to be more clear-cut with our finances? Do we, lots of themes to explore there. So Neptune is going to move into Aries, and this one is exciting. Moving from where it's been in Pisces since 2011, a water, intuitive, compassionate, ethereal sign, into Aries, which is hot, fire, dry, energy that's very feisty for the next 12 to, well, until 2039, right? That's a big jump from water sign to fire sign. And so Neptune and Aries, we are going to see a big, huge rise in the spiritual development community. Neptune is that yoga teacher in the sky that dissolves, that takes away the stuff that we don't need anymore, that spiritualizes and blends us into spirit. Aries is all about self-discovery, so we have to be careful to not put the blinders on here. We are here to be of service and help others with their own self-discovery, right, Virgo? Okay. So for you specifically, you're going to focus on transforming the way that you see things, your approaches to shared resources. What does that mean? Does your community have a food bank that you volunteer at? Do you have a family trust fund that's a shared resource? Do you own land with somebody? Do you have a library and that you are the resources for the community? This is going to be a big focus for you, as well as personal boundaries, right? I want you to be reconsidering how you're managing your finances and your emotional connections. I tell this story a lot. This is the connection between love and money. I have a client who she was dating guys, and she was like, they always put me last. I'm the last thought in their mind. I'm on the back burner. I'm not important. I'm not thought of, like, blah, 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 right? And then I said, oh, how do you treat your money? And she's like, well, that doesn't have anything to do with anything. And I said, okay, maybe not, but how do you manage your finances? And she was like, I don't think about it. It's last place. Like, all of the ways she just described dating is how she was handling her finances, right? It's the last thing on my mind. I don't manage it. I don't balance it. So this is a lesson in how the connection between love and money can help you spiritualize it and see yourself from a different perspective. So profound changes and healing are there for you. You want to just be careful. The downside of Neptune is that we can be in delusions of grandeur. We can be susceptible, right, to deceptive financial schemes. And so you just want to be really clear on what you're committing to. Okay, we made it into the next quarter. This is going to be a time when you are going to really see themes with your community and your community values, and where you are a resource, where you are of service, where you want to be of service, and where you don't, right? So yeah, Cyndi Lauper's, she sees your true colors, and that's why she loves you. Saturn is going to move into Aries right behind Neptune. And so Saturn, right, it's the granddad in the sky that was in the military, that has boundaries, that is clear, that is direct, that's focused on your future planning, that sets up an account for you, that is, considering you in your older years. Saturn rules mentors and wise elders. So Saturn in Aries, maybe you are becoming the wise elder, or maybe you're receiving a new wise elder into your life. Saturn represents our fears and our duties and our responsibilities and what we have to do. So there's really no escaping ourselves and our personal work, as Saturn and Neptune are in Aries. We need self-discipline. And I think collectively, we're going to see new initiatives with elder care, dentistry, optometry, chiropractic. Saturn rules bones and teeth. Aries rules the face, eyes, ears. Virgo, I want you to keep focusing on that financial sobriety. What are your structured spends? You can do this. How are you living intentionally? What don't you understand about your money, your investments, what are you kind of ignoring? Bring that into the future, into the present, and really be honest with yourself. Do an honest self-assessment with the structures and processes and procedures you have in place for your finances that will help you with your long-term budget. Jupiter is going to move into Cancer for a year. It's exalted there. Jupiter expands. It's the great magnifying glass in the sky, so it can expand good things, and it can also make you aware of something that's not so good. It can magnify whatever is going on. It can make mountains out of molehills, or it can take one good deed and create a huge amount of benevolence across the globe. So Jupiter represents the God, the guru, the religion. It represents spirituality and judges, the legal system, being in right relationship, right? It represents travel. And in Cancer, so when it moves from Gemini, which is information overload, into Cancer, there's going to be like a sigh of relief in the cosmos, right? Cancer is nurturing. There's nothing wrong with Jupiter and Gemini. It doesn't like being there. It's a little bit too much, too fast, too much info, right? So as it shifts into Cancer, it's going to be in a more comfortable place. We're going to see themes with real estate expansion, kitchen renovation, family growth, home growth, real estate growth, enhanced intuition for sure. Cancer is a water sign. And for you, Virgo, we're going to focus not only on faith, Jupiter, and family, Cancer. We're also going to put in faith-based groups or social networks that you want to be involved in. And these people in your community are going to bring you luck, and you are going to be lucky for them too. And so I want you to be some way involved with your community, and your community that really places a huge emphasis on shared values, so that we're not putting faith in people, right? We're putting faith in our higher power, but we're with a group of people that are going to hold us to a standard that we really appreciate, that will help us see ourselves so that we can grow. The Mercury retrograde cycle this summer in Leo for you, right? That's going to be falling in that house that represents our own spiritual story, our redemption story. It's where we can self-sabotage. And so just be careful. Don't self-sabotage. Don't do it. This is a time for solitude, for checking in with your higher power, for understanding your spiritual walk, making time for yourself to rest. This could be a time when some of you are writing Mercury, your spiritual memoir. What is your redemption story? What are all the little miracles and synchronicities that have been happening? Do you want to share them with us? Do you want to share them with someone? This can be a time when you are rewiring yourself. You know that Joe Dispenza book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself? That might be something for you to play with. You might be wanting to take some intuition classes or psychic development classes. You might be reconsidering what you think is the mystery of life, right? All right. And then in the third quarter, I want you to focus on work. And so this is a Dolly Parton quote that focuses on your work as being a place of service. So no matter what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. You know what I mean? This is an act of service. I choose to go forward this day serving. Who, what, who are you serving? Who are you in devotion to, right? Uranus. So Uranus moves into Gemini. Uranus represents the great awakener. It is shock and awe. It changes things quickly. It brings awareness, huge amounts of awareness. It's the Einstein in the sky. It's been in Taurus, earth sign, body, physical, food, finances, and it's moving into air sign Gemini, ruled by Mercury, decisions, communication, public schools, public transportation, the media, airwaves, right? So these are some themes. When Uranus was in Gemini previously, the United States went to war. We had the first aerial photography invented. We had the Carrington event. So I think we're going to see some similar things, right? Drones, educational reform, solar eruptions. Gemini rules wrists and shoulders, right, and lungs. And so I feel like there's going to be some kind of reform or innovation with healthcare in those departments. Genetics, yes, space communication, self-driving cars, extreme weather. Those are all markers of the side of astrology that's represented by Uranus and Gemini. And for you, Virgo, this is going to change the way that you share your gifts with the world. You are going to be writing more. You're going to be communicating more. Some of you guys are going to start podcasts. You're going to be sharing your story. You're going to be sharing your experience, strength, and hope in a new way. It's going to change your reputation and what people think about you, which is good. There's nothing bad right now, but there's a change is afoot. You know what I mean? You might completely and drastically change your career path, especially through these years, 25 through 33. So I want you to consider really unconventional Uranus workplaces, or redefining your professional goals in a way that feels kind of outside of your comfort zone. So what legacy are you building? What legacy are you leaving? The last two eclipses happen in September. So September 7th, it's the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. Pisces has a drowsy, watery, weakening effect. In 2024, I remember the Pisces eclipse had a lot of news about water as a decreasing, draining situation. There was a boil water notice. There was a pool evacuation, a swimming pool closing. I had a friend that had mold in her house that she had to go deal with. So this is not, I'm not suggesting bad things are happening. I'm suggesting you're going to see water in the media, bridges, waterways, things like this. Pisces eclipses, something has got to disintegrate. You've got to let something go and wash it through and wash it clean in the river of life, right? Allowing something to fall apart. Relationships are going to be the biggie for you, Virgo. And so what is it like to be on the other side of you? What are your themes in relationship? How do you act when you're stressed out? How do you behave with that person that's stressing you out? How do you behave with your higher power? How do you behave with people in your community? Are you out there trying to get help? Are you kind of going in a cycle? Are you playing God and trying to manage and control and fix everything? These are questions like relationship inventories that you can do to help you move forward with healthy relationships. All right. And the next eclipse starts on September 21st, and it's in your sign, just like the first eclipse of the year. This one kicks off a new 2.5-year cycle starting now, ending in December of 2027, a fascinating year to study. So again, big shifts, too much work, not enough. Too much service, not enough. Eclipses have this potency to them. And again, you can feel this 90 days in advance. This is in your sign. So you are reinventing yourself. So what isn't working, it's time to let it go. It's time, right? It's time to release it into the South Node and embrace all of the Pisces spiritual North Node goodness that is there for you, for personal growth, for your own self-improvement. All right, in the last quarter of the year, you are the best thing. You are the best thing, Virgo. You are the best thing that has ever happened to someone out there, right? So rise and shine, get your gifts together, because this is really about you leading a life that you are proud of, right? That you can look back on and say, wow, I really, really did my best. This Mercury retrograde period in November goes through fire sign Sag and water sign Scorpio. It's going to help you reassess the way you talk with your family, the way you think about your family, the way that you communicate in general. Are you dry and direct? Are you overly sharing? I don't know what your thing is, but your communication style is under consideration in November. So you might want to try something new, a new strategy. You're going to want to take care of routine maintenance. Do the air filters, make sure that all of your outlets are working correctly, that your batteries are good, or, routine home maintenance. Now, of course, typical Mercury retrograde issues are going to feel a little bit amplified. This falls in your third and fourth house sectors. And so I feel like, there's going to be normal delays and confusion, and delays are always blessings in disguise. If you have siblings, this could be a time when you're looking back through old photographs. It could be a time of nostalgia, or it could be a time of, hey, we got to resolve this issue between us. You might want to revisit your childhood neighborhood, or review old class notes that you took, or things that are just related to home, family. Your main theme is going to be to get in touch with your true heart of service, Virgo. All right, this sounds vague, and it's not vague at all. This is a big deal, Virgo. I want you to ask yourself, where are you reporting for duty? Who are you working for? There are big, mighty changes happening for you that are available for you when it comes to your service work, right? What you came here for, your soul's calling. So create a new offer from your soul. See what it is that the tribe of humanity could use and benefit from you, from the way that you deliver clear, concise, and accurate information in a way people can understand. This is going to require that you tap into your spiritual mission statement with a profound level of devotion and to not waver and to follow that thing, right? So this is a big one. Pluto is in Aquarius from 2024 to 2043. And this theme of your true service, figuring out who you are reporting to, what you are devoted to, right? Who are you really devoting your day to? And where you're reporting for duty, this is it. This is the stuff. This is the reason that we use astrology to help us understand ourselves better and more deeper so that we live a life of satisfaction and fulfillment, right? Okay. All right, Virgo. So thank you for being here. Again, use the code Stormie 2025 to purchase your digital astrology calendar at a discount. We have more discounts and goodies coming through for you throughout the year, so be sure to check back. This is just a glimpse at what happens when you expand on the calendar description for what's happening for each of the planetary transits, the lunations, the ingresses, the retrogrades, all of it, right? And if you enjoyed this today, I would love to work with you. Again, I'm Tiffany Harelik. You can find me at tiffanyharelik.com. Don't forget your free PDF horoscope. I'm on YouTube. I have a podcast. I send out a Friday forecast newsletter. I offer membership if you'd like ongoing spiritual development support through the lens of astrology. I mentioned the 40 Days of Spirit product for people that are seeking spiritual development, that want step-by-step training. And I offer retreats. So in 2024, I did Tulum and Austin. In 2025, we're doing Santa Fe and Malibu. And if you would like me to come to your area, please let me know. My final message for you guys, for all of us, is to love each other. That's what we're called to do. That's what it boils down to. So if none of this makes sense or it's too granular, just go back to the heart of things and love each other. So guys, on behalf of the 2025 forecast team, we are wishing you the best year ever. Many prosperous new beginnings for you within endings. A year of transition and change and courage and integration is here for you. We're so glad you came to us for this topic. And until next time, guys, namaste.